There's a lot of chaos in the world. Political uncertainty, climate activists calling us to turn back or risk extinction. Terrorism continues to kill and instill fear in our hearts, and that's only on a global level. If we zoomed in on our own lives, I imagine there's an awful lot going on there too. You know, a friend of mine told me that she has 4 family funerals to attend in the next few weeks. All of this calamity, chaos, and uncertainty then is surely a sign of God's absence. I can absolutely see why we would think that. If I were to invite you to my apartment though, one of the things you'd notice is my absolute love of books. Now let's say you see on my bookcase the 3rd of the 7 Harry Potter volumes. It's one of my favourites, The Prisoner of Azkaban. You take it down, you open it up, and you read a page at random. And it describes a violent tree attacking people. Imagine now that you close the book and say, this is rubbish. It's chaos and violence and darkness, and it's all just a bit weird. I would say I'm sure that page is all of those things, but that's one page in a 317-page novel which sits within a 7-book series. You have to read it in the context of the whole story to make sense of it. And you'd never read a book like that and jump to such a judgment. Yet that is what we do when we take a snippet from history, our own personal lives, and assume the madness means there is no meaning. We think there can be no authorial intent, the author is absent, God is absent, and the chaos is just a sign that he left us long ago. But when we see the bigger picture, just as when we read the Harry Potter series in its entirety, we see the chaos as part of a bigger story. The weird violent tree is just a small part of the Potter story, and we have to ask, as we see the chaos in the world and in our lives, is this part of a bigger story or not? And not assume that reading one page will give us an exhaustive account of what is actually going on. Could it be, read in context, that even the instability, turmoil, and uncertainty around us is a sign of God's presence? The existence of the weird tree in Harry Potter and even the evil villain of the series, Voldemort, don't lead us to think the author, J.K. Rowling, is absent. Many of us, we read on, we're keen to see the outcome, the victory. What if our lives are also part of a bigger story of what God is doing in the world and even in our own lives, and grasping that bigger story would transform our understanding and experience of the difficulties and chaos around us? Corrie ten Boom, a Dutch watchmaker who facilitated the escape of many Jews from her hometown and later suffered in a concentration camp as a result, said that when a train goes through a tunnel and it gets dark, you don't throw away the ticket and jump off. You sit still and trust the engineer. So the big question is what you're experiencing right now everything, or is there a bigger story, an author? Is the train shuttling on with no driver, or is there ultimately someone we can trust, even in the darkness and confusion? What if God not only wrote this story, but became a character in the story? What if Jesus actually is God, the one we can trust, even in the darkness and confusion?